Okay, we are in Portion-Tazria, the weekly Torah portion. This week again is Tazria-Metzora, but we're only going to probably touch on Tazria. I can't imagine we'll get to Metzora. Both are dealing with the same sort of concept, namely we're going from a state of spiritual purity, being tahor, to being tameh, spiritually impure, and then back again to becoming spiritually from tameh to tahor. It starts off, I'm not going to do it this year because we did it last time, was the part about when a woman gives birth to a child. It says that a woman gives birth to a child, so if it's a male, she's impure to her husband, she stays in nida for the 7 days. After that, even though the blood is still flowing, she is no longer in dam nida, but rather she's now in dam tahor. She's in a clean blood, as it were. So she could I want to make sure I got that right. Right, I did. So she will then be able to be with her husband again, but she won't be able to go to bring any sacrifice to the temple or do anything with the temple, because as far as the temple is concerned, she's still tameh. When she has a girl, then it's a 14-day wait period, and then everything is doubled. So she would have to wait again, and then when she finally finishes off all these times, and she wants to become tahor even for the temple purposes or the Mishkan in those days, so she would have to bring a ola offering and a chatat offering, a sin offering. Why a chatat offering? Why the sin offering? Because she made a vow that when she was in labor pains, or I want to say that she was sworn never to be with her husband again because of all the pain. That it was obviously not a real vow because it was made under duress and pain, and more than that, she doesn't have the ability to not have to forbid relations with her husband, because that's part of the ketubah. So you can't go against your contract. So then why should she bring it, since it was really nothing, it was just words? So the rabbis want to say that just as words have some impact, and even though they really couldn't take effect by since she said it, so we want her to bring a sin offering. That's a simple way to look at that. Fine, let's go on. Now it says, we're going to go to chapter 13, verses 1 and the rest. So it says, so Hashem spoke to both Moshe and Aaron, saying, Adam, when a man will get in the flesh of his skin, a se'ed or sapachat, he's going to get, and these are names of types of tsaras, or baheret, vayavo v'sarol, the neged sarat, and it will be in his skin this plague of sarat, that's what we're going to call it. V'huva el Aaron HaKohen, it should be brought to, he should be brought to Aaron the Kohen, or el echad mibanav haKohanim, or to one of the children of the sons of the Kohanim. What's going to happen when they bring it to them? So v'ra Kohen and nega, so the Kohen will see this nega, this blight, this plague, ba'orab habasar, in the skin of his flesh, usa'ar nega afach lavan, and what's his sign of this nega, of the sarat, is the hair on his arms, or wherever they are going to be a whitish hue. Whereas if you look at your hair, you're going to see that it's black or brown, dark. The point is dark. It's not white. Okay? As a matter of fact, even people, unless you're an albino, you really don't have white hair. You may have blondish hair, but it's not white hair. An old person, right here, yeah, you have white hair. Okay? But a little bit of white hair. So that's white. Now, if your hair in that place would suddenly turn white, so then that's what they're talking about.
Wouldn't the skin also be pocketed slightly?
What does that mean, pocketed?
Like, didn't they mention, like, I don't know if I remember this or something else, like, when they would get a sickness, whatever part was afflicted would be a little more, like,
raised?
Raised or...
No, okay, so some of them will be raised, some of them...
Either a
right.
bump or like
Right. Yes, we're going to go through it. I just want to give you the background. Then we'll go through the notes. I'm just running through the Pesukim right now, because otherwise it's you get lost in the concepts. So one is, again, you have to show it to the Kohen, because without the Kohen, it cannot be declared saras. Okay, it needs a Kohen. The Kohen is the quote unquote doctor. Only a Kohen. Even if a Kohen is an ignoramus, you have to teach the Kohen what it looks like, and only the Kohen is, according to the Torah, can declare this person or this plague to be a tzaras. Yeah.
So if the afflicted knows what it is, and the only Kohen he can go to doesn't know what it is, do the afflicted have to say, "This is what tzaras is. Here are all this."
This is what he would have to educate him. Yes.
Right.
He can't say it is. He can't say it is. He has to say it looks like.
He says like tzaras. This is teaching him, and then like it's like giving him examples.
Right.
And then saying, "So what's this?"
Right. Correct. Yes. That's exactly what happens to happen. Yep. So, like I said, so white is you, umarea nega amok mi or bisaro. Now, not only white here, but the appearance of this plague has to be deeper than the skin of the flesh, and the flesh of the skin, however you want to say that. So, nega tzarati, if that's the case, so that's tzaras. The Kohen will see it and declare him tameh. If the beheret, again, that's the name of the plague, this saras in beheret levanihi ba'or b'saro v'amok imareh min or, and if this beheret is white and it's in the skin of his flesh, and the appearance is not what does it say? If the appearance literally is deep, the appearance is not deep from the skin. That's what it really means. So what does it say here? The affliction's appearance is deeper. No, it doesn't. The appearance, right? Okay. The appearance is not deeper than the skin. Or the hair has not turned white. So he's going to go into negative shavat. Then the Kohen closes him up, quarantines him for 7 days.
Can a Kohen have tzaras? In which case, could he
He can't self-diagnose. You have to bring somebody else. Could a Kohen to have a stomach good? Sure. Well, we'll see why. I mean, why does a person get tzaras? Lashon hara. So if you're going to speak lashon hara, you're going to get tzaras. Okay, so what happens? By the way, we know there's Aaron a Kohen got tzaras. And Miriam, right? So Aaron a Kohen got it. He got it for a second, but he still had it. And so it's proof positive that, what?
Aaron or Moshe?
Aaron got it, not Moshe. Moshe also got it, but Moshe is a Levi.
Right,
wouldn't prove anything.
That was for a proof of...
Right, to show that he spoke Lashon Hara against the Jewish people. But that's from Hashem, but they didn't have these laws yet. Okay. V'ra Kohen, so the Kohen will see it by Yom HaShvi on the 7th day. V'nei nega amad beinav. If the nega stays in this place, lo pasan nega, or it doesn't spread in the skin, v'his giro Kohen shavat yemim shenet, then he quarantines him for a second 7-day period. Then, so the Kohen will see it on the 7th day, on the second 7th day period. So now the nega got weakened. In other words, it dimmed, weaker. Lo pasa nega, or again, it didn't spread. So the Kohen makes him, declares him spiritually pure. And then it is a mispachat. That's what it's called. He washes his clothes and it is clean. Which means he has to put the clothes through the mikvah. But if it does spread, the mispachat bo'or achrei harato elakoin ta'arato, and let's say the mispachat spread in his skin after the Kohen started again. V'nira shein elakoin, so he has to appear again to the Kohen. So then, if it's spread, then he's considered tameh, and the Kohen will have to declare. The Kohen will call him tameh and tzaras. Okay, yeah.
Does it? How does it they mentioned in quarantine and they mentioned it's getting better. Is it?
No, what happened was they put him away. Right, the first week they put him. First week, it didn't. It wasn't the first time they did it. It was because it didn't spread. So they have to put it into. I'm sorry. The first time, it wasn't a clear thing, so it was a possibility, and so they put him into quarantine. The second week. And then they check him after that. The end of the week, they check him. It didn't spread. You have to check. You have to put him in quarantine one more day. In other words, if it would have shrunk the first week, it would have been over. Then we can make him tahor, but otherwise not.
So what I'm wondering is, it's not a.
Say it again.
What I'm wondering is the curing process. Is that just not speaking lashon hara, doing shuvah?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all it is. A spiritual disease.
Because if that's the case, if somebody would get it and not go to a kohanim, or a kohanim, could it spread across the entire body, or would it just be patches? Because that's why I was curious. Whenever it mentions it growing, I always imagine like worst case scenario, could it grow across the entire body? Could it be anything?
It could grow. It could cover the entire body. If it does, the person is considered tahor.
Like completely
Pure.
Oh.
Not tameh. If it covers the entire body, then it's considered tahor. It's contradictory. Yeah. Let's go through this. Okay? So it's contradictory. Okay, so now the bottom, if you go to 609 on the bottom, where it says 13, the laws of Saras, he's going to give it to you.
1917?
Back to page 609.
Oh.
Okay? And before we do that, actually, I'm going to tell you something. Rashbam, who was Rashi's grandchild, always was going for the simple understanding of the text. He, as many people did, and he bent over backwards to try to do it. When it comes to this Parsha, I will read you his words. He says, Kol Parshiot nege Adam and nege Begadim and nege Batim. All of these sections dealing with the plagues of man, of the clothes, it says clothes will also get tzaras, and houses. Marayateim v'cheshbon hizukiram, and their appearances, and the accounting of how many times you have to quarantine them. V'sa'arot levanot, the white hairs, sa'ar shachor, and the black hairs, the tzahov, and the yellow hairs. Ein lanu elacha peshuto shemikra klum. You can't find anything goes simple from these words. He says it doesn't do anything. Lo al b'kiyu derech eretz, and it doesn't help you with all the science you're going to know. Okay, shal b'nei adam ela midrash chachamim v'choteim kivloteim. The only thing that's going to help you here is the midrashim of the rabbis, their statutes, and what they received from Hashem at Sinai, and that's it. So what he's saying is very clearly, Rashbam, who was again always going simple understanding of the text, everything's built come from the text. He said, you're not going to understand this. It's not going to make sense if you follow simple understandings of the words.
This is entirely oral Torah.
Say it again?
This is entirely oral Torah. Or oral
Yes. Yes. You need it. If you without the oral Torah, you're not going to get it. You can think what you want, but it's not happening. Okay. What is your father asking? What's he asking?
I don't even know what Daf Yomi is.
Okay, I don't know what he's asking. So it's the morning, so I'm not sure what he's asking. Okay, I'll get back to him later. Okay, so Daf Yomi is, by the way, learning a folio page of Talmud.
Daf a day?
Yeah, Daf a day.
Okay, yeah.
So at the shul, they learn early in the morning, so I'm not sure what he's asking. Oh, Mr. Arnstein is here. Okay, so he says, for hundreds of years, this, by the way, he's going to be quoting Rabbi Hirsch. Rabbi Hirsch is really one he's quoting at length here. So he says, for hundreds of years, the popular translation of tzaras has been leprosy. And it was commonly accepted that prevention of the disease's spread was the reason for the quarantine of a suspected victim of tzaras and exclusion from the camp of a confirmed Metzora, the person smitten with the malady. Rabbi Hirsch, Rabbi Samson Hirsch of Germany, demonstrates at length and conclusively that both of these notions are completely erroneous. It's not leprosy. That's what ArtScroll's point is. Very briefly, he shows that the symptoms of saras, as outlined in our Sedra, in Parsha, are far different from those of leprosy that we know. Furthermore, they call leprosy something else. Hodgkin's disease, I think that's the real name of it. I think that's what they call it. How are you? And I think that's what they call it. But anyway, it says, furthermore, there you go. We're on page 609. 609, I said. 609? Yeah. So furthermore, if the reason for the Metzora's confinement is to prevent contagion, then some of the laws would be ludicrous. For example, if the malady covers the victim's entire body, he is on tamei. That's what I was just saying, right? It covers the entire body, he's on tamei. But if his skin begins to heal, he becomes tamei. So if that's leprosy, you're going backwards, right? If you would think the whole skin had saras, you put him into quarantine. You don't want to be around him. But here, the guy's walking around, he's tahor, leave me alone. Okay? Then, in the case of a house that is afflicted, the Torah prescribes that before the house is pronounced tamei, and this is from Portion-Tazria-Metzora, by the way, all of its contents should be removed because they would become contaminated if they were left inside at the time of the pronouncement. Do you understand? I think I have saras in my house. So what happens? The Kohen tells me, okay, clean out your entire house, empty it out, and put out everything outside. Well, that doesn't make sense. If I have a disease in the house, shouldn't you want to leave everything in there and to confine everything? No. And then he says, but if there were a danger of contagion, it would be irrational. We're on page 610 right now. I'm in the ArtScroll. I'm in the ArtScroll part. In this part. Okay. So he says, but if there were a danger of contagion, it would be irrational for the afflicted household items to be excluded from the quarantine. And perhaps the most telling example, the Talmud teaches that if the symptoms of saras appear on a newlywed or during a festival season, the Kohen does not examine the affliction or declare it to be tamei, in order not to interfere with the celebration. But if the purpose of these laws is to prevent the spread of disease, it would be absolutely imperative to enforce the laws at times of great overcrowding and mingling. So clearly our sages teach saras is not a bodily disease, but the physical manifestation of a spiritual malaise, a punishment designed to show the malefactor that he must mend his ways. The primary cause of saras is the sin of slander. As the sages say, the word Metzora is a contraction of motzi ra, of one who spreads slander. Similarly, the sages teach that the affliction is a punishment for the sins of bloodshed, false oaths, sexual immorality, pride, robbery, and selfishness. The pattern that emerges is that it is a divine retribution for the offender's failure to fill the needs and share the hurt of others. God rebukes this anti-social behavior by isolating him from society so that he can experience the pain he has imposed on others and heal himself through repentance. So, yeah.
Motzi ra, is that gossip or is that outright lies?
Lies.
Huh?
Lies.
Those are lies. Maybe.
Motzi Shemra is lying. Lashon Hara is the truth. And
so
slander is the truth.
We're using English. So what is slander? He's translating it slander. What is slander? Is slander in English? Does that mean a lie? I'm trying to remember now.
Slander can mean either a lie or truth. You slandered me.
In the end, your image is corrupt.
Right.
You slander somebody.
You made my
a lie. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be a lie. It could just be you slandered me. And in other words, if a person, anything that makes a person look bad in the eyes of others is slander.
Yeah, but in halakha we have a
in halakha we have right. Well, also in American law we have a distinction.
Yeah.
But
so
it's
what
I'm saying is it goes. We would say all the laws, mostly Shemra, go under the umbrella of Lashon Hara. In other words, Lashon Hara is the umbrella group. That's the umbrella. So under Lashon Hara you have Mosti Shemra, you have Rechilis, you have Avak Lashon Hara, you have all these different subcategories, but when we're talking about the overall category, we call it Lashon Hara. And when it comes to in English,
speaking something that you shouldn't be speaking.
Right. When it comes to English, you would say slander. So I don't think they have a definition of character. You know.
There's two words. There's slander. What's the other word?
Definition of character.
No, something. I think slander is usually considered a spoken word, and there's another word for something where you actually wrote something, put your name on it. That was an outright lie. I forgot.
Fake news.
Huh?
Fake news.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Actually, yeah.
I'm not sure. But what's very important to understand also is Saras only would happen in Eretz Yisrael. It would not happen outside of Eretz Yisrael. But the reason that would happen in Eretz Yisrael is because in Eretz Yisrael we were on a high spiritual level. The divine Shekhinah is with us. Yeah.
Eretz Yisrael during the time of the temple.
Say it again.
Sorry, too quickly. Eretz Yisrael during the time of the temple.
Right. That's my point. That when the Shekhinah, as long as the Shekhinah was dwelling in our midst, then Hashem would have a lot of miracles going on. One is that we would get this spiritual malady manifested in a physical manner, and that would be a saras, so that we would have the ability to do tshuva on that, if we so desire. It would also allow people to see, in other words, if somebody has saras, so then you're not going to want to play with them. And that's why they're going to be quarantined on their own, but they're also going to have to go through expense to do this. And the reason that they will be quarantined mostly, and this will be brought up throughout the parsha, is because when they spoke Lashon Hara or Moshe Shemra, whatever, the Lashon Hara against people, certainly against husband and wife, they caused them to want to separate. So it was just as they had to separate, so Hashem wanted them to understand what loneliness was. So that's why he would say you have to separate. It also gives them a chance to do tshuva, because what happens when you're alone?
You're alone with your thoughts.
You're alone with your thoughts. That's it. There's nothing else to do. So now you have to think: why did I do this? Why was it really worth it? You know, when you go into solitary confinement, you have to think: was it really worth breaking the rules? So hopefully you'll realize it wasn't, and you'll do tshuva for it. But that's really what's going on. So it has to be in Eretz Yisrael. It's like the test of Sota. It has to be in Eretz Yisrael, and all these things have to be running perfectly. When the temple is no longer there, when it's destroyed, so Tsaras goes away. But we shouldn't be happy about that. You know, it's comparable to when the joy that we get for not saying Tachanan. When nobody wants to say Tachanan. It's a nice, beautiful prayer, but nobody wants to say Tachanan. The minute we get Tachanan off, today is Yom HaAtzmaut, right? So many shuls don't, who are Zioni, who are Zionistic, and there are young Israels, whatever, so they did not say Tachanan today, rather they said Hallel. With or without a bracha, it's a big machlokes, so that's a whole machlokes in the world. Argument.
What is Yom?
Yom HaAtzmaut is Israel Independence Day.
Oh, from when it became a state, or when it?
Yeah, for 1948. Okay. So today is their July 4th.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the way that they celebrate it is in the Orthodox, and the from world of Israelis, I don't know how you say that, but in the Dati, so they would say Hallel. So the question is, do you say it with a bracha, or do you say it without a bracha? When do you say Hallel? I mean, that really, by the way, that's the question in itself. That's really the question. Just to put that forth for anybody listening. The question is not should they make a bracha or not. The question is when should one say Hallel? So you have to go to the laws to see when one says Hallel. Really, it's a halakhic question. To say Tehillim, no big deal. You want to say all Tehillim without a bracha, say it all day long, nobody's going to bother you. But when you start saying a bracha, Ashir Kiddushanim Mitzvah Sivanu, so now I have to have a reason for that. And does it fall into the reason for saying Hallel? That's a different question. And I heard actually Rabbi Rappaport, when he was here, he gave that drasha in HOC. He gave that drasha. So it was an interesting drasha he gave. The answer was no, of course. But we wouldn't say for Yom HaAtzmaut or Yom Yerushalayim, the day of Yerushalayim, when Yerushalayim was reunified. That was also a miraculous day. So again, should you or shouldn't you? Now, bottom line is, so when I was in Yeshiva University, Rabbi David Lipschitz, it was right now is also what we call Bahab after the Chagim, each one. So you say Slichas Monday, Thursday, Monday.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's the old style. We don't. Nobody else. I don't think anybody does it today except for the old style. Maybe Hasidim.
Rabbi Cohen.
Rabbi Cohen? Good, okay. So in YU, I remember we said Shlichus. Okay, so here it is, Yom HaAtzmaut. He's the only minion, by the way, in all of YU who did this. He said Shlichus Bahab.
Oh, so if Yom HaAtzmaut happens to fall on Monday or Thursday.
Yeah. So I think it always falls something like that. So he, like I said, it was Yom HaAtzmaut. The rest of the school is saying Hallel without a bracha because Rav Soloveitchik said no bracha, absolutely no bracha. Fine, so there's no bracha. And but in his minyan, it was a separate minyan. So he said Slichus Bahab. Then he said Monday. It was a Thursday or a Monday, whatever the day was. So he said Tachanan. Then we did everything fine. After services, after we finished everything, he gives a clap on the shtander, and we said a full Hallel without a bracha, of course. So I said to him, Rebbe, isn't that a little contradictory? You went from sad, I'm saying slichas, you don't seem really happy, and you're saying long tachana, and you didn't even cut the tachana down, and then you're saying, Hallel. So he said, what? He looked at me like I was from space. He said, what do you don't want? Chazal say you have to say Bahab. Chazal say you have to say Tachlan. There's no excuse not to say it. The Chazal said it's what they enacted. And now it's a miracle though. It shows the miracle. So you say tell him not with a bracha. He wouldn't allow a bracha.
He did that after the last Kaddish.
Yep. Full Hallel. So I'm saying what I also gained from that, 1 second before you ask the question, what I also gained from that was, and again, we all have an affinity to not say Tachnan. Anytime we get out of Tachnan, we have the biggest smile on our face. But really, Tachnan is a beautiful prayer. So I'm not sure why we all want to just push it away, including myself. I know I get hung out from it, but it's really not something we should want to push away. It's something that we should, Hashem gives us an opportunity to, beg for forgiveness. And sometimes, I don't know why we throw it away so fast. Yeah.
So why was he doing slichos?
Again, during, after Chagim, Sukkot, and then not Shavuos, strangely enough, and Pesach. So then we've been rejoicing for all these days, right? So the Chazal, the rabbis, enacted that on the Monday, Thursday, and Monday following those holidays, if you can, by the way. The reason you can't is because it was Nisan, so they had to wait till ER to start it. Okay, and so it was really a fast day, and you'd also say slichas, penitential prayers. Now, most people threw out the fast a long time ago. I'm not sure what Rav David did. He probably did fast. I have to guess he did fast, but most people didn't fast. But in the old days, they did. Certainly in Europe, they used to fast. And the reason they did that was because here they are on the top, partying all day, if you will. They have that sort of thing. And then now they're being brought down to earth. So the way to do that is through fasting and through penitential prayers. And again, you don't want to do it 3 days in a row. That's not cool. So you're going to do it, nobody's going to do that. So you do it Monday, Thursday, Monday. And why those days? Because you're reading Torah those days. So, it runs together. It makes sense. You're in shul longer anyway. So what's a couple more slichas you're going to do? No big deal.
So Yom HaAtzmaut falls out.
Yom HaAtzmaut it falls out during Bahab. Today is probably the last, it would have been the second day of Bahab. Right? Because it's the fifth day today.
It's after Rosh Chodesh, yeah?
Yeah. So it's the fifth day. So it's probably Rosh Chodesh is on.
was-
No. This is the first day of Bahab.
Oh wait, so
This would be the
the
first
day of the month.
Well,
was
I don't know if they would do it. See,
Rosh Chodesh was the
it's
first
interesting.
Day was Monday, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting,
So
right? So
would
I
you
don't
start
know.
that? Would you yeah.
I don't know if they would start this Thursday.
Ah.
They may have started next week. I'm not sure.
Oh.
Because Bahab, it's not Habab.
They don't say it at HOC, do they? I don't think so.
No, Yeshiva does.
Oh.
Yeshiva will say it.
Somebody else to go, Rabbi. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be the question. Do they start now or they start next week? I don't know. But it's but I remember that
Is it always Monday, Thursday, Monday, or
Bahab.
is it if Rosh Chodesh falls between Monday and Thursday when it started? It always start on Monday, in other words.
yeah, it's Bahab. That's why they call it
It
Bahab.
probably didn't start.
So I'm guessing it's not starting next week.
Oh.
So this would be the year that he would just say Tachanun. It would have been a long Tachanun today, and then
That's
he
the
would
only
say
way I
that.
know about it because they had a Rabbi Coast.
What?
It's the only way I know about it because we did it. At Rabbi Coast.
Yeah, but the yeshiva does it. I know that. I'm pretty sure they still do it. Yeah, but that's what it is. Okay, so again, it's that sort of thing where you want to you want to be aware that the holiness is what brings it upon us. So when we're no longer in that holy status, and we're not living in Eretz Yisrael, and the temple's not built, and so on and so forth, then Hashem doesn't grant us this wake-up call. And that's why Lashon Hara is rampant, by the way. Imagine if when Reuven speaks Lashon Hara, and suddenly he gets afflicted. Well, you're going to know not to listen to him. You're going to know to stay away from that guy. Yeah.
Would it be? I was just curious about this because I was thinking back then they would have their clothes. I'm not sure what kind of clothes they would have. I would presume sleeves and pants and stuff like that in the same kind of manner. Would the saras come up someplace that you wouldn't normally have underneath clothing?
Well, again, you're going to see it. You're going to see it.
Right.
The world doesn't have to see it.
Right, but that was the thing. Like whenever you mentioned, whenever I would hear, if you would see someone in the saras, you'd know that they had spoken, and you'd be kind of, if you didn't go to the Kohen, you'd still be separated off because people would see that you spoke Lashon Hara and saras. So there'd be that like that.
Well, if they pick up their if they pick up their sleeves, you would see it.
Right.
But if you don't pick up their sleeves, you're not going to see it.
Right.
Right.
It's like kind of hide a tattoo.
So again,
It's like trying to hide a tattoo. Something like that.
again, I don't know if they were necessarily trying to hide anything, and by the way, again, they are going on their own to the Kohen.
Right.
Until they go to the Kohen, they're not declared tummy.
Ah.
So I mean, they have to go to the Kohen, and then they can get their cure. So they have to first care enough about it, right? And then the Kohen has to come and see it, or he has to go to the Kohen and show it to him, however that's going to work. It seems that the Kohen comes to see it. It says, V'ra Kohen et hanega, he comes to see it. So it's, however he's going to see it. So if we have long sleeves on, so I'm going to roll the sleeve, Reuven rolls the sleeve up and says, what is this? By the way, think about it. If you don't know what it is, aren't you going to go to a doctor? You're going to go, right? You don't want to be stuck in that. You know, if something happens, you want to check out, is it just Lashon Hara, Moshe Shem, that I have to stop? Or is it really something serious?
Especially when it grows.
What?
Especially when it grows.
Right. You know, what is this? So I have to know what it is. That's why, it says very clearly it's a spiritual disease manifested in a physical manner. But I have to know what it is. Because if it's something else, I may have to, maybe it's a different type of refuah that I have to get, a different type of healing I have to get. Okay? So that's why you really do want to go to the Kohen. Not because you may not want to admit you spoke Lashon Hara, but that's what it comes down to. So now let's go on further, and I'm just going right through the English because we did the Psukim already. So I'm just running through the English to see what's going on. Because as I said, the Rashbam says you're not going to understand this from Pshat. Forget it. It's only from the Midrashim that we can understand this parsha.
Really?
Yep. He says forget. You're not going to understand it. That's exactly his words.
Huh.
You can only understand this through the drushes. She says the first symptom of saras is a white patch on the skin, which must be at least the size of a grist, which is a large bean that has been estimated to be 3/4 of an inch square. As described in the verse in the notes, there are 2 basic shades of white, and each of them has a secondary color, making a total of 4 shades. So only the Kohen is authorized to make, by the Torah, to diagnose its tzaras and pronounce the malady as such. Unless a Kohen makes this pronouncement, none of these laws apply, even though a multitude of scholars and Kohanim recognize it as such. You need the guy to declare it. First, the Torah describes the basic forms of tzaras and how all 4 are determined to be tames, again, spiritually impure. Then the Torah goes on to discuss the characteristics that tend to appear in one or another category of tzaras. So now, number 1 and 2, se'et or sepachat. He says, according to the sages, the se'et has the whiteness of a natural wool, and beheret is the color of snow. So one's a little darker, the one's a little whiter.
It's not pure white, yeah.
Right. Sepachat is not a new kind of tzaras, but a generic word that refers to a secondary category. Each of the primary colors mentioned in the verse, se'et and beheret, have a subdivision which is slightly darker than the parent color. Okay, but is also an indication of contamination. Thus, there are 2 kinds of sepachat. One is the color of an egg membrane, and one is slightly darker than a se'et. Okay, the second is the color of a chalk, and is slightly darker than a beheret. Thus, there are 2 major categories. Each one has a subcategory. If the hair, so now we're looking at the hair. If the hair, again, on the arm, not on the head. The head is, if it's on the head or the beard, it's a different animal altogether. Then it's going to be a gold look. We're looking at white is the skin of the skin. Okay, so unless somebody's bald, then they have, then it goes back to the skin. But if it's if they have hair, so then you're looking for gold as a color. So we're only looking at skin at this point. Okay. She says, if at least 2 dark hairs inside the suspect patch have turned white after the appearance of the affliction of skin, that's what we're looking for. So if I only had 1 white hair, or if I had multitude, again, right? Multitude white hair, we're not talking about that. We're talking, because that's just natural, what you can do. Maybe if I start speaking Lashon Hara, I'll get black beard. I don't know, man. I'll have to try.
It'd be blonde, wouldn't it?
Blonde? No, it'd be white.
I mean, for hair to be gold, right?
The hair would be gold, right? So if you have white hair, it's just your old. That's it. That's all that happens. But if you have, again, but that'd be part of it. The beard, right? It has to be gold. It would have to be gold. It would have to be gold hair, not blonde. Gold, a goldish. Again, we don't know what gold really looks like, but it would be that sort of thing. Then it says deeper. If it's deeper than skin, so it says although the affected patch of skin is not actually lower than the surrounding skin, the discoloration makes it appear to be lower than the affected skin, just as a sunlight area seems to be lower than the shaded area around it. Thus, if the white patch does not appear to be deeper than the skin, it is probably only a surface discoloration and not tzaras. So again, you have to be careful with what you're, when you get it. Is it tzaras? Is it not tzaras? Only the Kohen or somebody who knows to teach the Kohen what it looks like is going to really know. You don't know just by seeing it. Okay? Unless you're a Talmid Chacham. By the way, I wouldn't have diagnosed it myself anyway. It's not a good thing to diagnose yourself. And then he says he declares him contaminated. So the Kohen must declare orally, you are contaminated. Without this formal declaration, there is no tumah, even if there is no doubt that the affliction is tzaras. So if the guy wants to get away with quote-unquote murder, so he doesn't go to the Kohen. And he walks around, he has tzaras. Okay, so I have tzaras. So people want to listen to me, they don't want to listen to me. But I there's no what's the expression? No foul. What? No blank, no foul. No harm, no foul. Right? So you may say no harm, no foul. That I'm not going to go. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and because I'm not going. I love speaking Lashon Hara, so I'm going to speak Lashon Hara, and I'm going to get this tzaras. So who cares? The guy can't. The guy's not going to. He can't do anything to me until he declares me impure. Fine. But once the victim has been declared a Metzora, he has to conduct himself in the proper manner. Okay. So that's this Beheret. All of the laws, although all the laws of Saras apply equally to all 4 shades of white, the Torah states that some laws in connection with Beheret and some in connection with Se'ez, because some characteristics occur more often than the other. Okay, now it says its appearance is, if the appearance is not deeper than the skin, so then, since the law in verse 3, as explained by Rashi, is based on the fact that the white spot always appears to be lower than the surrounding area, how is it possible that the white patch mentioned in our verse doesn't seem lower? So the Ramban answers that only a glossy white appears to be lower than the skin, but not a dull white. Okay, so they're just looking at the simple things, because Rashi said, I don't know what the pasuk's talking about. Doesn't make sense, because he was, and that's why Ramban answers him up. Okay, not that obviously Ramban didn't live at Rashi's time, but yeah.
Would it be a public declaration? I guess not. The Kohen would just.
I'm sorry. The answer is that when a person becomes Tameh, when the Kohen declares him Tameh, he has to go around saying Tameh, Tameh, Tameh. He has to walk around, and everybody will know to stay away. Now, the reason he says Tameh is twofold. One, so everybody knows to stay away, and number two, so people will daven on his behalf that he does teshuvah, and that he can heal up. So that's why he's going to be doing that. Okay. So then it says should quarantine the affliction. The afflicted person must remain in a room for the entire week. Others hold that the person is not quarantined. Rather, the Kohen isolates the suspect patch of skin from the rest of the victim's body by drawing a line around it. Okay? And then, so that he will be able to tell at a glance whether or not the affliction became larger during the next 7 days. So, okay, get your magic markers out. Let's mark it. Okay. And that's what he's doing. Right. So now, if the affliction has dimmed, according to Rashi, in order for the affliction to become pure, both conditions mentioned in the verse are necessary. The color has dimmed, became darker, even though it still has one of the 4 shades of Saras, and it has not spread. It has to do both. Okay? Okay, so now you have mispachat. This is a skin disease of some sort, but not Saras. So there you go. So you have all these names that we have no idea of how to translate, by the way. There's no English equivalent, which is why ArtScroll is not translating them.
We don't get these anymore.
Say again?
And we don't get these.
We don't get them. We don't know what they're talking about. Even if we did get them, we wouldn't know what they are. Okay. Again, you'd have to, when the Mashiach comes and we all return to Eretz Yisrael and divine Shekhinah is in our presence, and the base of Mikdash is there, and we can bring our Korbanot. So then, Chas Yisrael, we speak Lashon Hara. Okay, so I'll have to take the crash course in how to declare somebody Saras. Hopefully, I won't be able to look at myself to get it, and we'll start the process again. You know. But until then, we really don't know what these different types of things are. And then it says, he shall immerse his garments and become pure, even if the Kohen never pronounced the melody to be a tzaras. The mere fact that the person was quarantined renders him tameh and requires him to immerse himself in the garments and his garments. So here the guy went into quarantine, right? He was never declared tameh. He went to quarantine. And then what happened was they saw it shrinking. Okay, so now he comes out. It's done. He was never. So if you didn't declare him, by the way, this is an interesting question. If you never declare him Tameh, why does he have to immerse himself in his clothes and everything else? Why?
Maybe just for the possibility?
Basically. Because he allowed himself to fall into that possibility. So now, that's also the thing. We have to immerse him. He has to immerse himself and his clothes.
Well, it'd be almost like if you have a kalim, something that is questionable whether you need a bracha, so you immerse it without the bracha, right?
Okay. Also,
or immerse it along with
I hear. Right. But what you're seeing here is a bit of a punishment.
Yeah.
That you allowed yourself to fall into this situation. So now that you got out of the situation, don't think you became out unscathed. You went to jail. You went to your quarantine.
In other words, he never had the declaration from the Kohen.
Right.
But he isolated them anyway.
You weren't declared, but
to watch it, in other words.
You had to watch.
Huh.
So now it's shrunk up fine. No problem.
So
But what happened, by the way, is you were at a tahor level. We all start out tahor. Everybody starts out tahor. Okay? We're all spiritually pure. What happens is we do things, and that makes us spiritually impure. What happens if we don't know if we became spiritually impure? We suspect we did. Well, if you suspect you did, so then you have to go back to the mikvah. Right? Because you want to make sure that you are pure. So, okay, there's a way to fix that. There's a way to make that absolutely 100% good. So what happens is I caution myself.
That's the same way again with Kalim and
Right.
if you think something, a pot you had, maybe something hit it that shouldn't have hit it. Maybe
Correct.
I better boil it again.
Correct. You can always kasher it. You don't have to do a
Yeah.
bracha on that. You
Yeah.
kasher it, and it's done. Then there's no situation where I'm having a question as to whether or not it should be good. Okay, so we'll have to stop there. Okay. Now you know a little bit more about Saras.
Cool.